This is Module 2, Lesson 3. We're talking about funding your practice, and I think this is probably one of the most important things that we're going to be talking about loans, investors, and financial planning. So let's talk about understanding the financial needs within the practice. How much money do you need to start up a practice? And I know this will kind of vary depending on the year, the economic state, and everything, but kind of give kind of an understanding from your perspective.
You're going to need a hefty amount of money, right? No matter how you cut it, no matter if it's a startup, you're going to have the build-out cost, right? Which we already said that can range between $100 or $300 depending on where you're at. It could be more than that
Per square foot.
Per square foot, yeah. Yeah.
Man, if it was $100.
Yeah. per square foot. And then your equipment cost, then you're going to have some working capital, right? Mm-hmm. Because what people fail to do is they fail to consider things like marketing, right? That's the last thing. That's the last thing. Whatever they got left.
$4,000 to do marketing.
Whatever's left. And honestly, it shouldn't be like that. Mm-hmm. You're going to have this big lump sum of money. So typically you're going to have to borrow that, right? Yeah. Maybe you come from a well-off family and somebody gives it to you. Cool. Great. Good for you. But for the most of us, we have to go borrow it. Mm-hmm. And so typically what that means is we're either going to go to a bank and we are going to say, hey, this is kind of my business plan. This is what I want to do. And it works out, right? Yeah. After you do one, you have more options, right? Because they now have a track record that you can do this, right? And so then it opens up things to private investors. That opens up things to you can do seller financing type stuff, all those type of things, other options.
So what is like the first thing that you would spend money on when you open a practice?
Yeah, so let's assume that the build out's done. Okay. One caveat that I would say is don't indulge in some of the luxury items, right? You can always go back and add a chandelier. You don't need the chandelier to make money, right? Make some money, buy the chandelier if you want the chandelier, right? Okay. But you have to have certain things. You have to have chairs. You need chairs, right?
Yeah.
So make sure you get some nice, comfortable chairs that you like, right? It's the extras that you don't have to have at the beginning. I think that's the hardest thing for me to digest because I wanted all the things. When the day I opened my office, I wanted it to look like it did at year 5. Retrospectively, I could have saved a bunch of money and paid for it as I went. Right? Because those first couple of patients, they don't know, you don't know, we're trying to figure it out.
Most of the time, this is their first rodeo, so they don't know what orthodontics is actually about.
That's right. Heck, as a business owner, you don't know what it's about. Like you're trying to figure it out just like they are, right? And so some of those things don't matter. So you can keep your costs a little bit lower, right? And then the next thing, I'm a big fan of buying, nice equipment, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to have the best? No. You do not need the best x-ray machine, right? You don't need that right off the jump because, again, you're seeing so small of a number of patients, it doesn't matter. You can buy that at year 5. As far as furniture, same thing. You don't need something that's going to last you 30 years.
Yeah.
Because you're going to remodel before 30 years happens, right? You're not going to keep the same thing for 30 years. Like, let's be honest. Like
maybe 7, you're like, okay, now it's time. I've got more cash flow. I want to freshen it up.
Yep. 7 around 5 every 5 years you start to do little tweaks to update your office. So you don't need something that lasts 30 years. So those things are automatically going to get your costs down.
And I think also talking about like how to afford this is like exploring some loan options. I know we talked a little bit about it earlier with like equipment and everything.
There's a couple of different ways that most people do it. They can get a loan through the dental companies for equipment, right? And they can kind of pay that monthly fee. They can get a bank loan. I would always suggest that you get multiple, right? Get 1 or 2 from big banks, nationwide banks, right? And get a couple from local banks, right? And figure out which one works best for your needs, right? At the end of the day, you are the one responsible for it. So make sure everything fits what you want and need.
Yeah, making sure that, hey, I can, when the payment comes up, I can pay it. The interest rate, I'm willing to pay whatever, what you feel comfortable with. And I like the diversifying from different banks because somebody might call the note, and you don't want all your eggs in one basket.
That's right. And the thing is, once you meet with one bank, you learn the lingo. You learn what to say to the next bank, right? And let's say that they're offering something that's really amazing. Well, you can use that knowledge to say, well, this Mr. Bank number 2, the bank number 1 was offering me this. What can you do for me?
Yeah, because you're making them have to compete instead of you coming, oh, Mr.
That's right.
Bankman.
That's right. And I promise you, they want to lend you money because it is a very, very safe bet for them.
Yeah, medical is rarely ever has any problems.
That's right.
So let's talk about investors. I know we talked about loans and everything. What would go into considering having an investor come into your practice?
Yeah. So, are we established or are we starting off from the beginning?
Starting off from the beginning.
So we have an investor. We have a friend who has a bunch of money, right? And that bunch of money, that friend was like, "Hey, man, banks are willing to give you money to do this at an interest rate. Typically, they'll give it to you at a slightly lower interest rate, right? But at the end of the day, they're trying to make money.
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you can't own a dental office if you're not a dentist.
Okay.
You can't be more than a 51% owner, right?
Okay.
And so in investments, or when investors come in, you have to make sure that you structure the deal so it's beneficial to you. Like you have to have your attorney really, really look at those deals, because when you're talking about borrowing some individual's money, it's a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't pay it, we got somebody knocking at the door. You know, I don't know. So it's a little bit different. It can work. It can work, but you just have to be really clear of expectations on both parties.
Yeah, and I think that goes with like some pros and cons. It's like, do they have any say of like how the practice is ran? You know, like what are the actual, written down things of how this is actually going to work?
Yeah. So I have a friend who is an investor in a bunch of medical practices, and he is very hands off for the most part until they start not producing. Right. And then when they start not producing, then he's like, wait a minute, I didn't give you my money to not make money.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to start making changes. So where you had so much autonomy at the beginning, well, you don't have as much now because you're indebted to this person that is probably good at business. If they have a lot of extra money, they're probably good at business. And so they can kind of take a little bit of control of your practice there.
Yeah. So just be
cautious.
Conscious of that. So let's talk about planning your budget. How can people keep track of their spending and earnings?
Yeah, this is with software, right? So Cloud9, it has the money coming in, money going out. QuickBooks does it as well. You can have your CPA kind of give you a P&L, a profit and loss statement every month. I actually think that's really good. For the first couple of years of my practice, I put my head in the sand when it came to the numbers and based everything off feel. That was not a good way, right? It's not a good thing to do. The reason why it wasn't a good thing is because, some of the times that I felt really good, the numbers didn't actually justify that. But then on the inverse of that, whenever I thought numbers were, or what stuff was really bad, I felt like it was really bad, the numbers really weren't that bad. So following the numbers will help you. You just have to commit to seeing it every month.
Yes, it's a reflection of what's going on, but it's not meant to beat you up. It's meant to give you like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is my goal. We talked about goal setting. This is what I need to do to meet that goal.
Yeah, it gives you feedback. And I think that the feedback, if you take it where you're not taking it personal, it's fine.
I love that. So let's talk about preparing for the future. How can somebody save money for emergencies or slow times?
Yeah, so whenever you start making money, you don't spend it, right? And so how that works is what I like to do, because again, I'm a COVID baby, right?
Yeah.
that's what I like to tell myself. And so I have to have a 2 to 3 month reserve of my business expenses because I felt so uncomfortable during that time. And so what I did my first 2 years of practice, the money that I didn't need to live on or pay the bills, I would sock it away. And that's how you have to do it. You have to take a percentage of it and put it into a savings or reserve is what we call it. And so that will protect you long term if something were to come up. Let's say you got hurt, right? Now, yes, you got disability, but so what? Some of the bills will need to be paid before the disability can kind of come through.
Yeah.
And it gives you a sense of peace.
Yeah, because you could be on a ski trip and, fall and break an arm.
Yeah.
And you can't work.
Yeah.
And guess what? You're the only orthodontist there.
That's right. Or like, what if like I were to like, if you were to die, if I was to die, right, Brooke would be responsible for paying some of those bills, even though she's not on the note. Yes, we could let it just go away. But if there was reserves that could pay the bills until the office could get sold to someone else, at least my family would have something to take away from that, other than life insurance and things like that, right? It's just you have to think ahead. Because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Always plan ahead so you know that the people you care for are taken care of. Well, that is module 2. We'll see you in the next one.